Metallica frontman James Hetfield is opening up about battling anxiety in the run-up to their current tour, which is currently taking place in Europe. Now, Metallica, despite being one of the biggest bands of all time, they're also one of the more transparent groups as well, like in their documentary, Some Kind of Monster, when we saw the band at a real low point and at a pivotal point in their career, when they had to figure out whether or not they were even going to continue in the wake of the departure of Jason Newsted. Now, the film even chronicled their audition process where Rob joins the band and he gets that huge cash advance as well. But also over the last couple of years, we've seen James Hetfield return to a rehab facility, and we've seen him speak openly about his own anxieties or insecurities up on stage. And I really commend him for that, because I think when he's talking about that, particularly with his fans, you've got probably a lot of really tough people that listen to his music that don't really open up about their feelings. And to see James kind of taking a personal account of what he may be dealing with or what he's going through and being transparent about that, much like when he focused on getting sober, I do think he's having a real positive impact with his fans. And so I really commend him for that. So now in a new appearance on Metallica's podcast, James Hetfield is opening up about dealing with anxiety in the lead up to this current tour that they're on. And if you haven't checked out the Metallica report, it is interesting because the members of the band really do open up about how they feel about things on this podcast. And there's been some great sound bites that have come out of these episodes. So much like everything Metallica does, whenever they step into something, they're going to do it well. And that's been my experience listening to this podcast. But I wanted to point this out as well. This is far from the first time that James has opened up about his personal feelings, whether it relates to Metallica or just dealing with anxiety or feeling inadequate. This is back in 2022 when James actually got emotional on stage and he was embraced by all of his bandmates, talking about getting older and not feeling as confident up on stage. Here's what he had to say. So this is from Michelle Fernanda on YouTube, and this is from a show back in 2022 where James addressed the crowd and talked about how he'd been feeling.
Can help you. Right. We now have a Metallica birthing section at our shows, especially in Brazil. It's amazing, isn't it? It's crazy. We are so blessed. So, I gotta tell you, I wasn't feeling very good before I came out here. Feeling a little bit insecure, like I'm an old guy, can't play anymore, all this bullshit that I tell myself in my head. So I talked to...
And it is bullshit. Metallica puts on amazing shows. I saw them just last year for the Metallica No Repeat weekend in New Jersey, and they were amazing.
These guys, and they helped me, as simple as that. They gave me a hug and said, hey, if you're struggling on stage, we got your back. And I tell you, that means the world to me. It means the world. And seeing you out there, I am not alone. I am not alone, and neither are you.
And one of the things that really strikes me about that is after all Metallica has been through over their career, traveling the world probably 50 times over, and maybe more, how much they've accomplished together, but also probably how much baggage they've all been through over their career. But of all the massive, gigantic bands, they seem to be one of the closest these days. And I don't think that I ever saw that being how things turned out for Metallica when I saw Some Kind of Monster, because they were not in a good place at that time. And it really speaks to how much it seems like all the members of the band have worked on themselves. And even James, I mean, he's an impressive person. For him to be up there speaking so eloquently about how he feels. And I just thought that was something that probably just didn't help him, but probably helped a lot of fans as well. But this is what James Hetfield had to say on the newest episode of the Metallica Report, talking about how he has been feeling and dealing with anxiety in the lead up to this current run. So this is from Music Radar. It says, the mind is the enemy most of the time. James Hetfield talks about overcoming anxiety and finding faith in his creativity. So it says the Metallica legend checked in with the Metallica Report podcast for a rare interview as the M72 tour happens. And he spoke about his fears and his hopes as a musician in this rare conversation that you can hear on that podcast. He goes, my faith and where it comes from is strong. And just like when you're on stage and you know what you're going to say, the sacred moment, when you walk up to the mic and you say what you're supposed to just then, trusting that moment, trusting the moment, the lyrics will be there when they're supposed to. He says the music journey is kind of its own thing. Music, yeah, it's a collaboration, all of us. Then lyrically, I can freak out. Like, I don't know what to write about. Then I just start somewhere and it ends up going somewhere else. You start somewhere, then, oh, that kind of sounds like this story, or that sounds like this character, or whatever. Then you have this metaphor, and what does it mean? There's a deeper, vaguer attachment to something else that hopefully everyone can relate to. So it's not just about my struggle with darkness or whatever. There's definitely a theme, but it's being able to riff off of that and go to other places. So yes, trusting that it will find its uniqueness. And he says he's aware that his faith and confidence in his creative process can be undermined. He says the mind is the enemy most of the time, and just trying to avoid that overthinking and then just stream of consciousness. Just be connected to a higher power or whatever you want to believe in. That's what's supposed to come through me, is supposed to right at that same time and not will it to happen. And he says, over the last month, I will say the normal thing happens when I start to doubt myself. I start to feel insecure that we're too old and we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. All that bullshit that everyone tells themselves before they go into something that they care about. That's important. And so it sounds like that is some of the same that we heard from James back in 2022 on stage, where he feels inadequate or that he's not good enough, and he struggles with getting older and all of that. And I saw them last year and they were really good live. And so it's unfortunate that he feels that way. I don't think it's true. But here is James talking more about dealing with that anxiety. He says he has nightmares of, I'm the only one who cares what we're doing here. Where is everyone? I show up at the gig and everyone's goofing and there's about 200 people backstage, and where's my stuff? Where's the set list? What songs are we doing? And then there's the typical things of the guitar neck is made of rubber and there's only 2 strings on it, and where's my roadie? The cord won't let me get to the microphone. Silly stuff like that has to happen, and I don't freak out over that. He says you practice and it comes back pretty quickly. It's part of the cycle. It still is. You have anxiety build up, and don't let it get the best of you, because you have to balance anxiety and faith, and as soon as you get up there, it's going to be good. And he says there's no reason to feel self-conscious about something that goes wrong at the show. It's like, hello, it's happened, let's deal with it. And the old me of fear, anger, shut down, and blame or whatever, why? So I definitely think James Hetfield is someone who has really spent a lot of time working on improving himself over the years, and it shows. And he's still going to deal with anxiety sometimes, but he's a lot more self-reflective there. And so that's so great to see. And of course, Metallica is one of the best live bands of all time. Go see a Metallica show. You won't be disappointed. That's your latest update from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for the latest news and updates about your favorite bands.